Welcome back to the Bridgestone Jump podcast. I'm your host, Nathan Doyle, and today we've made our 10th episode. I actually genuinely can't believe people haven't just totally cancelled us by now. It's ridiculous we're still getting views. But today we've got a special guest for us, and we're going to cover the SLB and hit the NBA at the end. And it's someone I'm really, really interested to speak to. He's got some great content online. The Blind Pig podcast, if no one has heard of it. Joe Honor, how are you doing, pal?
Yeah, really, really good, man. I appreciate that. Appreciate the love and equally amazed by your stuff. I've really loved listening to it this season. Yeah, it's been wicked, man. I'm doing really, really well. Psyched to be on, psyched to talk SLB and to slate the Pelicans as well later on in the episode. Should be really, really good. Yeah, 100%, bro. I think everyone who's kind of in this game right now, I think everyone isn't really doing it for the views. There's no money to be made in this. We're doing it because genuinely we love basketball. We want it to grow. We want it to be successful. So yeah, man, I 100% back that. And I think that's all it is at the moment is finding people. I think there are more and more people across the UK who are excited to talk about British hoops. And so the more space we can create for that, I just think it just helps the game, helps everyone grow. So yeah, well up for that.
Yeah, mate, do you know what it is? I'm the same as you. I see the way football's going at the minute, and obviously, naturally, when they're getting, some of them getting 300 grand a week, I think to the normal person who just wants to sit down and watch sports, I think there's a space for British basketball, especially because you think about it and just, it's more relatable. Like, I know I've mentioned it a few times on the podcast when me, my cousin, and my mum went to a game, and you can go down and, like, actually see the players, and the players want to give you their time. Whereas you go to a football game, that's the last thing that they don't care who the average
Yeah.
Joe is. Do you know what I mean? They couldn't care less, not when they're making that much money. So I'm with you. But there's one question I wanted to start with, Joe, and it's a serious one. The blind pig. I've got to hear how did you stumble across that?
Well, do you know what, dude? And it's actually a shout out to Patrick Whelan. So he had 2 years ago a podcast called In the Gap. I don't know if you ever listened to it, but it's him, Gino Crandall, and Jamel Anderson, essentially just like shooting the shit in the off season. And it didn't go for very long. It happened for like 4 or 5 episodes. They talked about like the off season, what they were doing, what teams they were going to go to. And they had this one episode called The Blind Pig or The Blind Pig. And for 20 minutes, they just laughed about how stupid the name was, about how coaches had come up with this crazy name called The Blind Pig just because they wanted to say it. And I was listening to it, and it was just so hilarious, man. And listening to it, that was when I was like, dude, yeah, I want to make a podcast too. I want to be able to chat to my friends about basketball just like this. And so actually in the intro, when it has like the blind pig. So that's the actual audio from like Whelan, Jamel Anderson, Gino Crandall, and they all sort of signed off and said, yeah, dude, go for it, use the audio. So yeah, the Blind Pig podcast was born. Terrible, a terrible name really. When I say to people, this is what the podcast is, there's no connection.
Mate,
I
I
love it.
absolutely love it. I genuinely, I seen it for the first time, and I was like, where's that come from? But it's one of them where if anyone forgets that, they should probably get themselves to the doctors and get checked out, like,
Yeah.
because the blind pig is not something you should forget. Definitely not.
100%. And
No
if we do
swear,
end up
after
wherever we end up, like SLB, GBBL, the name never has to change. Do you know what I mean? It's always going to be Blind Pig.
it's smart, mate. It's definitely smart. So we'll get onto that. We'll get onto the SLB and the whatever we want to call it these days. For you, how did you stumble across that originally? Because I've mentioned it so many times in the past where we're in a country that is surrounded by football, and I say to my friends, "Oh, I love the NFL, or I love basketball," and they're like, what are you watching that for? What's the point in that?" So for you, how did you personally come across it?
Yeah. So when I was younger, I was always an NBA fan. So I can remember it was back in the '09 finals when it was Orlando Magic versus LA Lakers. That was like my first introduction to waking up super early and putting it on Channel 5 where they had reruns on it. So I was always an NBA fan. And that's sort of stayed with me throughout my whole life, throughout sort of playing basketball and everything like that. I played ball at college, at uni. And then when I started work, it just kind of stops. I got busy with family, with lots more traveling, that kind of stuff. And so I have two daughters. My eldest one is 9. And about 3 years ago, I was really trying to get her into some sort of sport, something that I could kind of connect with her in. And I was like, oh, it has to be basketball. Hopefully it's basketball. And so I took her to a Harlem Globetrotters game here in Nottingham, and she absolutely loved it. She loved the atmosphere. She loved how fun it was. She loved basketball. And she came away from that. She said two things. She said, one, I want to join a basketball club. And two, let's go do this again. And so I'm instantly on the internet, like trying to find out where's my local game, where can I take her? And so here in Nottingham, the closest SLB franchise is up in Sheffield. So about 2 weeks later, I took her to her first Sheffield game and she loved it, mate. And it was honestly, genuinely, one of the best days of my life as a dad, just being able to go with
Oh,
me and my daughter to a basketball game. And it was, yeah, just memories, mate, memories. So from that point on, yeah, I was hooked, absolutely hooked. Went to a lot of games that season, so we caught like the tail end. So we went to the playoffs, went to all of the playoff games, and then when the next season came around and the zone came, yeah, I've become addicted, bro. Honestly, like my weekends have just like been sucked into watching 3 games in like one day, and yeah, it's really amazing. I really love actually. For me, that product now, Super League Basketball, has become better than the NBA. I'm more of a fan now of the SLB and that content, and maybe it's because I can access it a lot more, but that has really become for me like the number one basketball product like I sort of put my eyes into, put my mind into. Yeah, and it's good, and it's something that I can still talk to my family about. You know what I mean, my girls, they'll know who Jamel Anderson is before they know who LeBron James is. Like that's kind of where they're at.
do you know? I think that's when you speak to everyone, though. That's one thing about British basketball is the family feel, and I've said it a million times. It's even when you speak about it online, the people you speak about it to are so like they're never going to agree with everything you say. It's I wouldn't want them to. You wouldn't want them to. It would be boring. But the community in British basketball is awesome. Like I think it's such a good platform to build off, and the fact you can take your daughters there as well. Do you know you take her to a football game and you might be a little bit worried because you don't. And I go to Sunderland games. I know exactly what gets said there, and I personally would not want my daughter there, and especially not when she's young. But you go to a British basketball game, and it's just such a nice feel. It's a relaxed feel. You know she's going to be safe there, and the fact you get to spend time with her there, I love that. That's one of my favourite things to hear. Like the fact people can do that round there is unbelievable. In Sheffield as well, it's not a bad team to go and support, is it? It's definitely
Yeah,
not.
dude. We were pretty lucky because they're pretty good by the time we started going. I know there was kind of like a couple of rough years sort of in the middle a little bit in between when they sort of got their last silverware and then in between. But yeah, dude, I think it's a franchise that's definitely on the up. I think Vaughan Millet's been awesome in terms of taking what was there, really trying to elevate it, bringing in top level talents. And I think for me, probably the thing that's really helped anchor Sheffield, where some of the other SLB franchises don't have it, is they have that star player in Prentice Nixon who's returning every season. And that kind of continuity is so massive for fans to know that my favorite player is still there. I can still go see him. I think like Cheshire have that with Skylar White. Bristol have that a little bit with Owen McCormack. But I think there are some franchises where they just don't have that continuity of players and we have so much turnover. Sometimes it's difficult for fans. But Sheffield have done that really, really well, I think, in terms of making it feel like the team is progressing rather than just starting again from fresh.
Yeah, I see that a lot. I think that's one of the one things that kind of keeps our basketball near the bottom because like you come into a season and especially at Newcastle, I think Newcastle is one of the main examples. Like Micah Corru, obviously he left, and that's like that's your Prentice Nixon of Newcastle. And I love Darius Defoe, and the fact he's still playing is amazing. But that's the one mainstay of the team. Cole Long's obviously back, but it's then I do watch a lot of college basketball, but some of the names you come in, you find yourself typing in on YouTube and obviously highlight reels. They're great, but I mean, if I wanted to, I would put a trampoline there and I could look amazing on a highlight reel. Do you know what I mean? So you never know what you're getting until you see them. But I think you've nailed it with Sheffield. I think Prentice Nixon, he's not just a player who's coming to make up the numbers. He's a player who wants to come and win MVP. And we'll touch on him a bit. We're going to touch on him a bit later for you. What is the ceiling for a player like Prentice Nixon? Obviously, he's been in the league for a few years. How far do you think he could actually physically go?
Yeah. And here's the thing, right? I think there's something for me about what's driving you as a player. So for me, do I think that Prentice Nixon could leave for a European team and play Euro Cup, potentially come off the bench for like a Euro League team? Yeah, I think probably in the right situation he possibly could. And there's probably a little bit more money that's kind of like out there for him. But I think in terms of if what you want to do is build a legacy, build something that's long standing, genuinely, I'd say why not start, you know, continue to build something right there in Sheffield. He's really probably like uniquely positioned to be like a dominant guard in the league for the next 5, 6, potentially 7 years in terms of how it's playing. And And if we really think that the direction of travel for British basketball is a little bit of NBA Europe potentially really elevating the profile of the league, now's a really good time to get in and to start kind of building that legacy. Yeah, I think Prentice Nixon can be huge for a Sheffield team, and I think we've seen it in the last couple of games when he's not there. The way that the roster's currently constructed, I think realistically the ceiling for Sheffield without Prentice Nixon is like fifth place potentially, first round exits. But with Prentice Nixon, I think they have a genuine shot at kind of solid silverware, finishing top two, top three in the table. I reckon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
High, and I think when it comes to playoff games, that's where they'll click and that's where it'll happen. But then if we do touch on London, I think that's what would stop Sheffield in the playoffs, because I mentioned it on the last podcast and I called them boring. And just so we are aware, I will stand by everything I say. I'm not going to move off it. But for me, I think boring's possibly not the right word, but I will stay by it because you know what you're going to get each week. And for me, the reason I get bored as well is I don't think they're going to lose. Genuinely. You look at the way London Lions are now coached, and I know it's Sabonis' first year, and I guess the opening weeks, you could see they were good defensively, but handling the ball going forward, it wasn't as good. But you're just seeing signs of it starting to click on that end as well. And in the Euro Cup, especially with the win last night, I thought they were like, that was probably one of the better performances that I've seen from them. When we look at them defensively, if we put that all together, I don't know if you agree with us, but do you see anyone beating them, not just in the regular season, but when it comes to the trophies and the playoffs in the end as well?
Yeah, no, definitely not. Which sucks to say because I loved the parity last year. I think they were awesome, bro. Really, really good. And I hate that they're so good. To be honest, I hate that I watched them and I love watching them play and love watching them operate. Probably the best chance if they were going to lose a game was that Cheshire game right at the start of the season, where
Yeah,
they didn't have the chemistry, they didn't have it figured out. That was probably when they were most vulnerable. I think what you've really seen now is like chemistry is there. They figured out the lineups. I love that they're starting Ethan Price in the starting lineup now. I think he's got a really good,
he's awesome.
chemistry with Adamu. I think defensively, the most impactful thing I think for them on the court is how they're able to switch on screens, really push the ball handler out to mid court, and then recover. Like it's something that other SLB teams really struggle with because they just don't have the versatility in terms of from guards to wings to bigs. And London just have that. And it's tough to see beyond like a really weird schedule loss how someone's going to kill them. Because I think, if I'm honest, they are using the domestic SLB games as really a way to like warm people up and to bring people in and get some extra minutes. I think having Ryan Mikesell, obviously he came back in the last Euro Cup.
Yeah,
I think he's going to play this weekend against Cheshire, and they're just going to use it as a chance for him to get his rhythm, get his minutes, and essentially they're just playing with their food, and they're just choosing when they're going to kill it and when they're going to eat it. Like on the court, I think they're unmatched, and I think it's beautiful. Like genuinely, when I watch them, I'm glazing hard now. This is like a real D1 glazer, but yeah, like on the court, I think the movement that they have, it's a step above, I think, what you see from other franchises. I think, yeah, it sucks, but I could see them doing a full 4-for-4 sweep this year.
I think that's where I struggle watching them, because I kind of like, I get where you're coming from and you're saying like they're so perfect to watch, and for me that's the issue. Like, because I can't see them getting beat. That's where, so if I know that London are playing and on the same day, say for instance we've got Surrey Sheffield playing, or Cheshire, Manchester, or someone like that, where they can be beaten, I'm going to go with the other game, because I just feel like London, I kind of know what the result's going to be. But when I do enjoy watching them play is in the Euro, especially now in the Euro Cup, I've got to admit, I really think, I don't know if at the start of the season it was because, like you said, they hadn't clicked, but I don't know if they felt like they should belong there as well. And then I watched them last night, and it wasn't just they felt they should belong, it felt like they felt they should be winning them games as well. How far do you think they can go in the Euro Cup? Because we see some teams in there. You've got the Turkish teams in there that aren't just fantastic on the court. The fans are just absolutely ridiculous. Do Lions have a chance at going far? Or is it kind of they're just going to have to compete and build for the next few years?
Yeah, great question. So, in terms of the fans, well, I have to touch on this. You're right. It was absolutely amazing to see all of the Athens fans, like shirts off, beers in hands, like fully chanting for 40 minutes. That's absolutely mental. You really see like when the cam panned to the away ends, loads of energy, loads of fans, everyone's going crazy. It pans to the home end, and you've got like 20 fans that are like the hardcore fans. Obviously, there's more people there, but you've got like the hardcore fans who are clapping and cheering. And just the contrast is unreal. So I still think there's probably a way to go in terms of like the culture. They're doing some great stuff there. Probably the fans and how they're going to survive in an NBA Cup environment. Room to grow there. I think for Euro Cup, the London Lions are going to have a real interesting point, I think, when Shavar Reynolds Jr. comes back. And I think that's going to kind of make and break them. So I think without him, I don't think they're probably going to get very far, unfortunately. They've been playing better of late. They still have a 3-4 record. It's still a losing record in the Euro Cup.
Yeah.
But Shavar Reynolds Jr., he could be the difference maker, or he could totally destroy their chemistry and set them back a couple of paces. And so, really interested to see how they kind of work him back in from injury. But I do think you're right. There's lots of really talented teams this year inside of Euro Cup. I think people are taking it really, really seriously. And I think London's destiny is kind of that mid-table and potentially kind of first round, second round in the knockout phase.
Yeah.
I'd love to see them do more though. Honestly, that 1 year when they went to the semis, that was an unreal run. I'd love to see that replicated.
Yeah, I think it's going to be one of them where, for me, this is why I kind of want to see Sabonis stay for 2 or 3 years. But I think when you've got a good European coach who's clearly got higher ambitions, it's about keeping them in the British basketball space and retaining them players and building from there. This year, I'm kind of with you. First or second round for me is actually a success, I think. It's kind of showing you that the British game, they're not mugs, and that there's a start of something, especially with the whole debacle going on at the minute. If we can get through that, if we can have a team like London Lions progressing into the knockout stages, for me, that's a win. So that's better than we were this time last year. So
So,
it's whatever way you take it, isn't it? But for me, I'm kind of with you. First or second round is maybe where they get. If they get to the semis, that would just be unreal.
would be unreal. But I just asked though, you think Sabonis is going to leave? You think he's?
I think
I've not
if
heard
you
this before. This is new to me. I've never met someone who thought,
I don't think he's going to leave this year, but I just think when you look at Sabonis, when you look at his family heritage, I didn't realize, and it was when I watched, it would have probably been the Olympic documentary on when USA had the team, and I didn't realize how much basketball meant to Europe, like that side of Europe. And when you look at the kinds of Sabonis, the coach, I just think he's going to be ambitious. Why wouldn't you be ambitious? He's a young person. He's he's fine in his trade. He's fine in his experience. I think in 2 or 3 years, I would 100% expect him to make a move to Europe. And if anything, it might not just be Europe he wants to get to. If he sees his brother playing at
yeah, dude,
Sacramento, maybe he thinks. And you look at some of the coaches in the NBA, and we'll touch it later. I don't see when you've got Darvin Ham as an assistant coach. I think Sabonis, I don't think he'll want to be an assistant, but I don't see why he can't step to that level. I've got Nick Nurse at the minute hammering Edgecombe and Maxey 40 minutes. It's not very creative, is it? I'm pretty sure Sabonis can come up with something more creative. Do you know? So I think, and do you know what it is? If I was him, and I don't want to ruin it for London Lions fans, why wouldn't you want to go further? And until British basketball proves itself and builds, and we've got, as much as we want it to be an overnight thing, we're still talking a 5-10 year journey at least until we establish ourselves on a bigger stage. But you've got TalkSport advertising the game now. You've got London Lions in the Euro Cup, so it's going to get there. But, well, we'll hope it's going to get there. That's what we want. But it's a start. You've got to start somewhere. So to me, I think coaches like Sabonis, I think you're going to see them, yeah, I think you might see them come and go for a little while. I'm guessing you don't agree with that.
no, but like, so I definitely agree he has a complex. Like, honestly, if your older brother is an NBA star, all star, your dad was like a flipping legend. That's
Yeah.
gotta be tough when you sat around like the Christmas dinner table and everyone's telling these stories. And you're like, yeah, I'm a coach now. So I totally agree with you. He is driven to do something. I think the interesting part is like, what's the level? So I would say like you probably have the NBA. And I think in terms of coaches' development, you probably have the G League that's underneath that. I think there's more opportunities there for coaches. I think that's probably where they can grow really into what an NBA coach needs to do, what it feels like to operate in that franchise, the NBA style of play coach. And then probably it's the Euro League. And I think the interesting thing is the NBA Europe. So where does that kind of fit into that kind of ranking? And I think what we'll have is we'll have coaches in the NBA, then we'll have coaches in NBA Europe, and then we'll have like G League coaches. So in terms of development, I think NBA Europe's going to be a place that's really desirable for coaches in terms of making that step. So if there's going to be a London franchise, and if it is the London Lions, big asterisks, caveats, I think it's probably one of the places that you want to stay. So I think he'll probably stick it out till at least 2027 when the league starts and know if it's the London Lions who are there. But if not, I think you're right. I'm sure there's an amazing, probably like Lithuanian team waiting to snap him up
Yeah.
and really like banking on the heritage.
Interesting point, because I think that's when I see stuff like that. I guess I don't know how you rank European leagues. 'Cause, like, I mean, I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on European basketball. I've seen a couple of Real Madrid games every now and again.
I would like to see some coaches to stay. I think going back to the continuity thing, I think when they lost Peter Bozic to Japan this last offseason, the London Lions when they lost their coach, I think that did impact them, and that's kind of changed how everything's felt. And maybe that's not a bad thing. Change is never bad, but it's really interesting, isn't it? Where here in the UK, the coach is almost like untouchable. So like I cannot think of a scenario where Rob Paternostro would ever be fired in Leicester. Even though he had
Yeah.
an absolute dog shit start to the season, there was never any rumours that Paternostro was going to be fired because he's just part and parcel of the league. Like Atiba Lions, he owns some of the franchise. How are you ever going to oust him if you really dislike his coaching? So there's this weird thing in the UK where like the coaches don't have the same job scrutiny as like other places potentially. Maybe that's just me being bitter, but yeah, it's
I
weird.
think you're right. I think what helps is probably because the owners, and oh, by the way, they've got more money than I could ever dream of. But I suppose when you compare the NBA, for example, to our league, I suppose there's a lot more. It's hard to say because you don't know how much these people are worth, but when you see the contracts in the NBA, it's kind of one of them where they are paying a lot of money to have their players and they're paying a lot of money for their coaches. So you think maybe that's why there's more of an attitude. In fairness to the NBA, a lot of the time they will give the coaches 2 or 3 years to build a team. Whereas I suppose the argument in England is in Scotland, because obviously Caledonia, the argument could be, well, I'm not building anything. We're just replacing me players all the time. How am I meant to coach if I can't establish a baseline and then build off that? So maybe that's an argument against it as well. But I think that's where we'll come back to rosters, though, isn't it? Because wouldn't it just be nice to have the same roster for 2 or 3 years in a row and build, and then maybe you can rate the manager off that? But it's so hard where your turnover is so much every year.
100%, bro. Yeah, there's like so I tried to work it out, like the amount of players. I think there was something crazy like 87% of turnover of players happened in our league this off season. Like it's absolutely crazy. And no discredit, but the people who often stay in the league are people who either like they found their niche. Do you know what I mean? Like their stardom. Prentice Nixon's a good example. Cam Holden, I think, is a really good example. I think this is like his level where he can thrive and where he can be really, really effective. Or you have like young British players that are waiting to try and grow and develop. So people like Nedas Cholovinskis. I mean, he's waiting and hoping that eventually his skills will get to a point where he can kind of move on, but maybe he's not quite there yet. But yeah, the continuity issue is massive. Yeah, massive for everyone.
You've just smashed Nidas's second name, by the way. I don't even attempt it. That was unbelievable. I've got to give you some kudos for that. Like that was unreal. But since you've brought him up now, and that was the next question, so it's a nice segue into it. We'll talk Surrey. So we're seeing what London's doing right now, and I asked the same question to Scott on the last podcast, but I think it's a bit of an interesting one. If we look long term, like I said there, I think 5-10 years until we'll start seeing a real effect and a real impact. That's off no knowledge at all, but I just think it's a realistic aim when you see everything we've got to build. For you, is it London Lions keep putting British basketball on the map that's going to bring the real benefits, or is it somewhere like Surrey where they rely, to bring through players like Nidas and the young British culture? Which one works for you better, and which one's going to benefit British basketball in the long term?
Yeah, it's really, really tough. And I don't want to knock Surrey for what they're doing because I think what they're doing is really unique in the sense of we know that they don't have the biggest budget in the league, and yet they're putting on a product that's really, really good. I think they pack out their arena really well in terms of like capacity and that kind of stuff, and they're really creating an atmosphere and a culture. I think that's what Scott talked to that was so wicked last episode in terms of the connection with the fans, the connection with the players. That part is brilliant. Same time, you can't escape the fact that they played their first game without names on the back of their jerseys. That's not really like highlighting an organization that's really forward thinking and business minded. And so there's always going to be a ceiling for that. And one of my big frustrations with Super League basketball is that I think a lot of franchises are really comfortable. And I would almost point to Surrey as one that feels really comfortable. Do you know what I mean? Like it knows what it is, knows what its product is, it knows it has a certain crowd. And so I think for me, the there's probably somewhere in between what London are doing, where I think it's a lot of hype and it's a lot of money being spent that's not necessarily in all ways the best ways, compared to Surrey, which are very conservative and building slowly. I think there's probably something kind of in the middle of that. And also, I think just our perception as well of them giving like kids opportunities. So I think the Hayden Ling signing is fantastic. The Kareem Queeley signing, awesome. Those to me are like really great British players that they brought in to have an opportunity. But they know from the outset the goal here is to make you better so you can go elsewhere and
Yeah.
thrive. And we have this weird thing where I don't think we've quite figured out like when has someone like maxed out their potential and this is just who they are. And I have an issue, to be honest, with like Nediscus a little bit because I keep saying he's going to break through for Surrey. He's going to be their star player. He's going to be the man. He hasn't shown that at all this season. If anything, I think he's regressed from where he was last season. And he's older than VJ Edgecombe. Like
That's
that's the way you got
crazy
to
to
look at
think,
it.
isn't
Like,
it?
yeah, what's VJ Edgecombe doing? What's Ned Ass doing? Do you know what I mean? So you hope there's more potential there and more they can squeeze out of the orange. But you don't. This might be just who he is as well. And sorry, I would love to see them push to try and if it's not Ned Ass, who's the next person they're going to try and push to kind of max out their potential as well.
Yeah, I've got to admit, I love watching Surrey play. I think it's one of them, and maybe it's because, and it's crazy I say that because I'm saying I don't enjoy London, but I love Surrey, and I think it's one of them where they're always going to be the underdog. And I mentioned to Scott on the last podcast, it feels like, and it must be frustrating, and it happens to Newcastle as well, but obviously we don't bring through the players, but we might find a gem like a Koru sometimes, and you just know if you don't do well that season, they're going to get cherry picked. And it's, as a fan, that's frustrating because, and again, I said it to Scott, it's like what is success for Surrey? Because is it ever going to be winning a trophy? And in realistic terms, no, unless some serious investment comes in. And I think I would love to see it one because I love the culture they have and I love how they bring players through like Nidas. And I do think the one part where I'll probably differ from you a little bit, I think there is more in Nidas there. But again, like you, it's you would like to see it. You would like to see it. I think the traits are there, but again, maybe that's just me because he's British and I'm being kind of a bit pig-headed and I want him to go further. But I do watch him, I go, there is something about him. He's aggressive, but then is that it? Is it just aggression? Is the finishing maybe not there? It could be right, and maybe it's one of them things. But at the same time, because I speak to a few Surrey fans quite often.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Aim is to build the British game from another dimension.
Oh yeah. I think for Surrey as well. So I totally agree with that. The fans. There's a great follow on X, the Surrey Niners news, or Surrey
Yeah,
Niners
yeah, I
fan
follow
news.
that. Yeah,
Dude, every time I pick against Surrey, they reply straight away and they're like, "No, you're wrong. We're gonna win. We're gonna win." It's a never say die attitude. I think genuinely for me, this season is between, unfortunately, Surrey and Newcastle. I think who's going to be that ninth place team and
I
get
know,
into
I
the
know who it is. I'm
playoffs.
just not gonna admit to you.
Do you know what? As well, like they've committed the Cardinals in already. They've lost to Caledonia.
Yeah.
That's you're only going to play them 4 times. If you've lost the first matchup, that's a red flag that you could be in ninth place if you're sorry.
Do you know what really frustrated us about that one? And I'm going to try not to rant because I don't like to say too much bad about the league. But it might not even be the league's fault. But first game of the season, right? Firstly, we're lost, which is just BS. Serious about watching the women's game grow. Where does that make sense? Why would we put that at the exact same time where you've got an away game where you're going to literally take supporters away? Because you look at the Newcastle fan base, that's, again, I mean, we're crap this season. Let's be honest, we're not doing well. Maybe it'll spark, maybe it'll come from somewhere, but watching them, I don't think so. But why would you then take them to an away game to Caledonia, possibly your biggest rivals in the league in terms of distance? And you're doing that at the same time of the women's game. And this has got no relevance to the podcast because wasn't even going to mention that, but you boiled us now.
The thing is as well, like the Newcastle women's broadcast, so I've only ever seen it on YouTube. I've never been there in person. But that's like one of the best SLBW broadcasts as well. You've got the two commentators on it, really good camera setup. You can tell the fans are actually going to the women's game. Like here in Nottingham, we have the Wildcats who are in the SLBW.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody goes. No one knows who they are. No one is supporting them. And so it's really disappointing that kind of Newcastle aren't really helping to grow that side, or they're not doing like simple things that could help both.
The problem is I don't know whose fault it is to blame because I'm saying the league. I don't actually know because when we talk about the licensing issues of the league and Glickman trying to obviously get the teams, they openly said the women's league doesn't come with that. So for me, maybe it's because they don't work together, which is kind of in a way frustrating again. And I know they might not have shares in each other and there might not be money together, but you'd think you would work together. And when it comes to, by the way, that game as well, Newcastle Eagles women were playing Sheffield Hatters. That's like one of the best games of the season. And I know, again, Newcastle Eagles women lost Jada Gwynn, they lost Tierra Hodges to Caledonia. Big game. Actually, you know what? We're going to send the fans to Scotland instead. That's what we're going to do. It just really got to us. So we'll move away from Super League basketball chat now. But what we're going to do, because I've been annoyed, you're now going to be annoyed. Let's talk New Orleans Pelicans.
I could talk Pels all day, bro.
Do you know what it is with the Pelicans for me? Every year, and I mean every year, especially last year when Zion Williamson lost that weight, I was like, you know what? The Pelicans could do it here. Trey Murphy, who's a great 3-and-D player. You've got Herb Jones, who was a great perimeter defender. We didn't know what he'd be like last year. You had Missy last year, or Missy, however you want to pronounce it, the rookie. Now he's obviously a sophomore. He looked like he showed potential. Jeremiah Fears this year, fantastic. You've got Kevin Looney from the Warriors. I was like, oof. The Pelicans could do all right here. So I'm going to ask you, you tell me what your version of offense are. What is going on with the Pelicans?
Dude, the Pelicans are trash, man. I can't believe you've been so polite to them. My goodness. These people signed Jordan Poole. Like, that's how desperate they are, man. Jordan Poole sucks. He can only make your team worse. And the Pelicans signed him. The only thing that's good this season is if you're a big, Derek Queen fan. If you're not, you don't even want to watch your own team. It is brutal. And the worst thing is, I think this is the worst thing, is that they traded away their first round 2026 draft pick to get Derek Queen. So they must have gone all in. We think this is the season. We're going to make the playoffs. We're going to make the jump. I don't know what the hell they're smoking in New Orleans because there was no way they were going to be successful in a loaded West. I think it's terrible, man. I think Jordan Poole sucks. Williamson, I've lost all faith in him. Honestly, he was going to be 5 years ago. He'd be the face of the league. We'd say that's the next guy, and now he's closer to Ben Simmons. Honestly, I think he's closer to leaving the league than he is being really effective.
I just don't get him. That's literally Zion Williamson when he came through. That was the year I started watching college men's basketball, and I was like, this guy. You talk about LeBron James, and you're like, he's going to be better than LeBron James. I don't know how many highlight dunks he got in his final year of college, but he was the guy, and then he's come to New Orleans, and he shows it. He shows what he can be when he's on the floor. When's he on the... He's literally... I'm pretty sure he's injured now.
Yeah, dude, hamstring. They released a report today to say that his hamstring was better and he's going to get back to basketball-like activity, but he's not going to be playing in the game. What does that even mean? Basketball-like activity? What are we doing here? Yeah.
But I was listening to it, and it was I'll ask you what you think of it. I was listening to someone get interviewed the other day, and I know Kendrick Perkins said it in 2022 when I looked it up as well. They're saying New Orleans as a basketballing city is never going to work. They're saying the fans don't turn up. And by the way, they can blame the fans. It's probably the team because, like you said, and that's why I didn't even mention Jordan Poole's name, because what is Jordan Poole? Let's not even talk about him. But they think the Pelicans have got a better chance if they start again. They trade away some of the assets, bring in picks, and like you say, they've traded away this year's first round pick, which would have been very useful. Do you think a relocation and starting again and trading away the assets, is that the only way that the Pelicans get better?
So I think probably the answer might be yes, but I don't think they'd ever do it because an NBA franchise that is doing terribly and comes 15th every year still builds value every year as an owner. Like it's better to be the owner of an absolutely horrendous franchise with fans that hate you because collectively you're still making money off TV, you're still making money off like naming the stadium and those kind of rights and all that sort of stuff. I think the answer for New Orleans, if I'm being really honest, is you gut the team and you start again. You trade away Zion while he's still got some value that's there. You know, you use your rookies. You almost essentially do what the Sixers did a couple of years
Yeah.
ago, where you just say, we're going to be bad for 3 or 4 years, really bad. But we're going to come
Process.
out of that with 2 or 3 gems.
Well, do you know what it is as well? And I think you're right. Zion has still got value. Herb Jones does have value. The only problem is I think he might have renewed his contract last year, so it might be a little worse contract to take. Trey Murphy still has value. You've got a couple of really good rookies and sophomores there, Fears and Missy. Even though Missy's not really been playing this year, I don't think. But you've got something there. I mean, let's not talk about relocation because I am not smart enough for that. I'm not even going to pretend to be. I don't know how any of that. And this is the best draft class I've seen in at least 3 years, I would say. You've obviously had the Wemby picks coming, but that's not the draft class. You know, that's like, as a whole, as a draft class, this could be a good opportunity for the Pelicans to maybe get some first round picks. At the minute, they don't have any, I believe. So that's an interesting one.
I think they don't have, obviously they don't have any this year. And I think next year they have the worst pick between either themselves or Milwaukee. So like between whoever gets like the best pick goes to Milwaukee and the worst one goes to the Pelicans. Like so they have like a pick swap that's there. I think Zion is the person who you could trade who would bring back multiple first round picks that would go to a team that was kind of in a lottery range that would be kind of helpful. I do agree about like Herb Jones and Trey Murphy. Like you could trade them, but if you trade them, you're trading them to a team that's probably a contender that's
Yeah.
probably picking like 15 through 30 in the draft anyway. And so your chances are really banking on someone. I also think they're carrying a lot of dead weight. Like I love watching Jose Alvarado. I think he's great. But if you're telling me if Jose Alvarado was on the Clippers, how many minutes is he realistically getting?
Yeah.
Like 8, 10 minutes maybe. Like but he's playing like 30 minutes for them. Like it's bonkers. Well, I do
Yeah.
agree about Jeremiah Fears though. Zero Fears. I think he's got something about him that could be special.
Yeah, I really like him. And when we talk about Alvarado, he's one of them players, right? Do you know when a football club says, do you know all we want is a player that really tries?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's literally what he is. But then you see them on the court and they're really trying, and you're like, this isn't good enough. This is crap. This is terrible. That's what. And I don't want to say he's terrible because he has his moments. But if the Pelicans want to be serious, Alvarado is not a player that you want on the court, is he? Like, yeah, you see 30 minutes for someone that tries hard. I mean, it's not what you want, is it? It's not ideal.
It's bad, dude. 2-9. 2-9 is a record. It's so rough. And like you can't I think the one of the big problems is as well the West, isn't it? Is how how do you ever break into the West 1 through 10 to be even in like the play-in? I they're just the teams are so competitive and they're so tight together. Maybe if they're in the East, they have a little bit more of an opportunity where you can have a weaker record, get into the play-in, maybe make some noise. But being in the West, it's just like a death sentence, like doubling down on it for them.
Well, if you look as well, like OKC, and I don't know how they're still doing it. They've obviously kept the big three, and they're battering the Western Conference. And I don't think Chet's played that much. Jalen Williams is still recovering, so obviously she is leading them. They're somehow finding more young players to come through. I think they've got 2 first-round picks this year, by the way. How are the NBA champions getting 2 first-round picks this year? They've just traded so well. So you've got OKC, you've got my personal pick who I think could win it all is Denver. I think they're great. You've now got the Houston Rockets, who are the most lengthy team in existence, by the way. And shout out Reed Shepherd. I said before the season Reed Shepherd would do okay.
He's quality, bro.
But then he started really bad, and I was like, there we go, egg on me face again. But then he's starting to come good, so shout out to him. So it is one of them. How do you and the Lakers? And we haven't even touched on the Lakers. The Lakers are looking okay. They're making because Luka Doncic is there. They're making DeAndre Ayton look like a world beater.
Good. Yeah,
So
man.
it's where do you go in the West? It's like you see, like where do you even break into the plane? Because the Golden State Warriors have the moments. You know, it's the toughest conference by an absolute country mile.
I think probably one of the safest bets this season is that the West will be, or someone coming out of the West will be the NBA champion. Like, I think it's just the far stronger conference. You mentioned OKC there. They're 12-1. They're on record to a historical season if they keep this pace. Like, they're going to beat the 73-9 Warriors if they keep going like they do. Chet's not back, like you say. J-Dub's not back. They just dicked the Lakers last night by like 30 points. And it just shows you like there's levels. Like the Lakers are, what are they, like third in the West now?
I think
And
they are
they just
third,
got
yeah.
smashed by OKC. So I think that the ones that you mentioned, you know, OKC, Houston, I'd probably maybe want to put like Denver in there just because I believe like playoff time comes. I think they coach
Yeah.
really well. I think they've got a good game plan. But I can't see anyone beating them in a 7-game series, you know, in the playoffs. And definitely not like a Pelicans team or even like down the line, Golden State. I think it's fantastic what Steph Curry's doing. But they had to score, well, he had to score like 46 points last night for the Golden State
Yeah.
team to get a win.
I
Guy's
just I
old.
I get confused at the Warriors and the Clippers at times as well. Like I look at what the Clippers and the Warriors are doing, and you've still got a talent in there like Steph, and you've still got when he's fit at the Clippers, Kawhi Leonard. And I know you don't want to build around someone like Leonard who was never on the court, but why every player they get seems to be ready for retirement? If you look at the Clippers now, they've got Chris Paul they brought in, you've got Harden, you've got Kawhi Leonard. Who else am I missing there? They brought in Bradley Beal, who's getting older. They've got such a
He's just been
selection of
announced
players,
for
and I'm like,
surgery. Bradley
yeah, oh
Beal
wait,
out for the
he's out, yeah.
season.
It's
Yeah,
and then I look
dude.
at the Warriors, and I love the Jimmy, but I think Jimmy Butler at the Warriors is great. But then you've got God, who am I even thinking of here? But they just everyone they bring in seems to be so old, and I'm like, what is the game plan? Are you going to rely on Steph Curry forever? Are you relying on James Harden in playoff time? Because that's and I promise you, as a Philadelphia 76er fan, that has never worked out. And I'm still heartbroken Embiid and Harden got broken up because that partnership was unreal. But playoff time, it's probably the two players you trust the least. Do you know, it's so the Clippers just confuse us, man. They're not mine.
I agree. And I just have to say, it's like, if the Sixers wanted to stay good, they should have kept Jimmy Butler. Like, one of the most
Yeah.
mind-boggling moves in NBA history was choosing Tobias Harris over Jimmy Butler.
That was the worst 3 years of my life. Was it three? It might have been longer. In fact, it felt like 10. And you know what? I really like Tobias Harris. Like, I really, as a player, especially in the regular season, as a third option, which he was most of the time, it made sense. But then again, playoff time, he didn't do anything, like, ever. He
Yeah.
just disappeared from the game. And I guess we'll move on to, because we are kicking on here. The time is flying, by the way, 47 minutes. Good Lord. I wasn't going to touch on the East with you, but I've got to talk about the Sixers and VG Edgecombe. He's struggling a little bit for efficiency at the minute. He's showing glimpses of energy still. What do you think he can be as he progresses his career?
It's Rookie of the Year, 100% right now. Like, he's going to win Rookie of the Year if he keeps on like this. His confidence, his shooting, just how he's playing. Let's be honest, like normally you win Rookie of the Year if you score the most points. VJ Edgecombe is going to lead all the rookies this year in those points. He's clearly going to be starting for them, or he should be starting for them. And even when Paul George comes back, I think VJ Edgecombe should be above the pecking order in Paul
Yeah,
George. Paul George, go stand in the corner, let VJ do his thing. I really liked actually when Embiid was out, Edgecombe and Maxey stepped up, and you saw a glimpse of actually they can continue to be successful beyond Embiid. And Embiid even recognised that, like that quote where he's like, "Hey, it's been 10 years. Like, it's good that someone's like finally better with me off the floor." And I think he recognises these young guys, Maxey and Edgecombe, are the future. And so
yeah.
I think more and more this season they're going to get the opportunity to shine. They're going to get the opportunities in the clutch. Yeah, I like the Sixers team. I think they are and they're definitely overperforming right now, but I think still Edgecombe is is a great piece. And especially when you think they nearly picked Ace Bailey as well, who's like stinking it up in Utah right
He's
now.
not having a great time, is he?
Let's be honest, it's Utah. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, there was literally videos of his face when he got picked for them, and I was like, and everyone was like, "Oh, look, he should be happy he's coming to the NBA." And I was like, "I get it. Go back to college for a year. It's not worth it." But I think with Philadelphia, do you know what is? This is, I know this isn't a championship team because we can't defend. But this is the most fun I've had watching them. I think when you look at Maxey, you watch Edgecombe, Grimes can put up a shot. He's not a great playmaker, and we need to stop putting the ball in his hands at the end of the game. Kelly Oubre Jr. is playing with energy and having the best shooting year I've seen him have. Embiid comes on for 20 minutes, scores 29 points. But again, he can't defend now. The only thing that can make this team and a championship contender as a push, an Eastern Conference contender, is if Paul George comes in and goes, because he's a great defender. Well, he was. We'll see what he's like when he comes back from his 20 knee injuries. It's one of them where if he can drop his ego and go, like you say, stand in the corner on offense, he's going to put up the ball, spot up, shoot. He could be great. If he's going to defend with Kelly Oubre Jr. on the wings and we'll get some good perimeter defenders, I'm excited to see what does happen with this team. But again, I mean, it's not going to win anything, but it'll be nice to see a team that contends and can push people.
Be honest though, bro, Paul George isn't going to do that. Like, I agree. I would love that. I'd love for Paul George
Yeah.
to stand in the corner, but he's going to come in and he's going to suck up usage. He's going to want the ball. He's going to go tween, dribble it down to 8 seconds, throw a grenade over to Maxey. It's the same kind of thing as like, if the London Lions are waiting for Shavar Reynolds Jr. to come back, and that's going to be make or break. It's the same thing with Paul George.
Yeah.
A contender in the East. So I think the East is as wide open as it's ever been. My Orlando Magic suck. We're terrible. And I actually rate right now the Pistons. The Pistons
Yes.
having an unreal season. And they look like if that's your number one seed in the East, that just shows you like how wide open it is. They're having a great season, but nobody was picking the Pistons to do this well
I
this
thought
early
they'd
on.
have a good year, but for me, I think I said the Knicks and who was the second team? I want to kick myself and I can't think of who I said. I kind of off the top of my head, I can't think, but I was pretty convinced it was going to be the Knicks. Oh, and Cleveland. Knicks and Cleveland. I was pretty convinced.
Okay. That makes
The
sense.
Knicks haven't looked great. Cleveland have looked okay. And Detroit, my God. Cade Cunningham putting up 47 shots the other day, by the way. You've got Duran playing in the middle. Amen Thompson. Oh, my gee. Or is it it's one of the Thompson twins. I always get them confused. What a defender. That Detroit team, I don't think they can win it all, but they can go a long way, and the pieces they've got are very young. I think they're a really good side to watch.
I think Cade Cunningham's the MVP. I think legit he will win the MVP this season. It's something crazy. Like last season, to get to 10 wins, it took them 15 losses. They had to lose 15 times before they got 10 wins. Now they've lost, I think, twice, and they've got 10 wins. Like he's absolutely changing the game. He took 47 shots. Do you know what? He had to take every one of those shots to grind out the victory.
Yeah.
That's what the MVP is. It's making a change, making a difference for your team, being the most valuable player for your team. Yeah, he's having an unreal season. And Jalen Duren, talk about length for Houston. The length of Jalen Duren. That man
He's
is
ridiculous.
he's long in all the right places.
But I think it shows you how good Cunningham is because Duran doesn't get it. No one mentions him, and I watch him, and he's unbelievable. And by the way, did you see Paul Reed put up 28 points the other night as well? Or maybe last night? I had to suffer watching him for a long time in Philadelphia, and it wasn't very good. I'm telling you, but I'm glad he's getting somewhere with it. But what we're gonna do is now, Joe, because I have kept you for so long, and we didn't get through half the questions, believe it or not, but that's just what happens here. That's how unprofessional I am. What we're going to do is we're going to make your West NBA starting five, but each player cannot come from the same franchise, so each player has got to be different. So I'll give you an example of mine in the East. I said Cade Cunningham, and I didn't pick Tyrese Maxey or Edgecombe, and I really wanted to, but because it's fully fit. So I'll explain that properly. 5 players, if they are fully fit and they're definitely there, you can pick anyone you want. So that's why I picked Joel Embiid, Cade Cunningham, Trae Young, Mikal Bridges, and Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Oh, I'm gonna injure some franchise right now by not picking their guy. This is gonna. Okay, so I have to go Luca at the 1 for the Lakers. I think genuinely he's playing better this season. He's got historical numbers, scoring the ball really, really well. Give me Luca at the 1. At the 2, I'm gonna have to go Shea, despite I actually hate watching Shea play sometimes because the flops are, like, sickening, but at the
Shit.
same time, you can't argue with the results with what's happening. So I think for me, Shea at the 2. Ooh, at the 5, Wemby. It's gotta be Wemby at the 5. He's DPOY, amazing. Yeah, give me Wemby in the
Ridiculous.
5. The 3 and the 4. Mm, okay, at the 4, I think I'd have to go for Jokic out of position, so I'm definitely cheating here. But I like 2 bigs. I like Wemby and Jokic. They've both got a little bit of inside outside, so give me Jokic out of position at the 4. The 3 is a really hard one though. I'm trying to think who my 3 would be in the West.
It's a tough one. The problem is with the West, there's so many players. There isn't really a
Yeah.
wrong answer because there's that many that could play there.
I wanna go I'm probably not gonna like this after I say it, but again, he's out of position, but I think I'd have to go KD at the 3.
Yeah.
I've not picked anyone from Houston yet, so I think I'd have to go there. I think he's he's old. He's old, he's still skinny, but he's still great. Do you know what I mean? The shooting doesn't go away. I think that in that kind of he's still really good defensively as well. So yeah, I think KD to kind of round it out the 3 for me. That's probably my starting 5. KD, Jokic, and Wemby. Yeah, I'll take
Look at
that.
that. That is a team. And then we're talking about length. KD and Wemby on the same team. Oof, crikey. If you're getting up a shot, you've done well. No, so that is it, Joe. I've grilled you for long enough. So thank you so much for coming on the podcast, my pal.
Appreciate it, brother. Appreciate it. And like I say, love what you do. Love what you do. And if anyone wants to check us out over on YouTube, we're at the Blind Pig Pod. We're definitely not as polished as you are, Nathan, to be honest.
Is
It's
that
a
what
lot
we're calling
more.
me here? I think it's an absolute train wreck.
Oh no, no. Age from Star, man. This is awesome. I love chatting to you, bro. It's great. But yeah, we're over on YouTube. We do some less polished stuff on some SLB. We're actually going to start doing some NBA watch alongs as well on YouTube. If you're a UK fan and you're staying up till like 2 in the morning to watch someone and you want someone who's uneducated and slagging off Jordan Poole, feel free to check us out on YouTube and to watch the games with us.
Well, you've got my vote, pal. I'm coming for a Jordan Poole hate party. I'm there all day. All right, well, yes, thank you again, Joe, and thank you everyone for joining us for the 10th episode. Yeah, but we're going to continue until someone kicks us off the airwaves, but we'll give it a go. So thank you so much, and remember to share when you can, like it, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you very much, everyone.